Well, my favourite story is Jonah and the big fish, though some people say whale. What happened was that the people in Nineveh were very, very naughty, and God said to Jonah, go to Nineveh and they'll tell them to be good people. And Jonah didn't want to, it's not important. He thought, I'm an ordinary person, I don't know what to do, so he ran away. And he jumped in a boat, he paid the fare, so it was an ordinary boat, it wasn't a special boat, and the sea got very rough. And there were people of every different religion on the boat, and everyone prayed to their God, and nothing happened. And Jonah was fast asleep. So they went to wake up Jonah and said, who are you? Pray to your God. So he prayed to his God, prayed to our God, and the sea became very smooth. And they decided, well, he's very naughty, let's throw him out. And he was gobbled up by the big fish. And then the big fish eventually spat him out into on the sea, on the shore. And then God said, now you've got to go to Nineveh. And he went to Nineveh, and then he found that, because God said you'll be very naughty, you'll be punished, but God didn't punish them. And he said, why do that? So he went and sat, it's very hot, he sat under a bush which suddenly grew up. He was very comfortable, and then next day it all disappeared. And he said to God, why did you do that? And God said, well, you didn't do anything to make it grow, so that's why it disappeared. And he said to God, why did why are you good to the people in Nineveh? And he said, well, they don't know what they're doing. They're left-handed. They don't know left hand and right hand. I'm left-handed, so I always know about left-handed and right hand. And they said, well, they're simple people. Therefore, just like I pardon, I'm good to everybody. Therefore, I thought they should have another chance. They didn't know they were doing wrong, so that's why they were very naughty. So that's one story. Another story is David and Goliath. That Goliath was very big, very strong, a bit of a bully, and he was very naughty to people. And David said, I've got to get my own back on Goliath. So what he did is that he had a special sling, put a stone in a sling, and managed to hit Goliath on the top of the head in order to stop him doing it and to kill him.
Well, we've just had the beautiful festival of Chanukah, and throughout our tradition we've had many stories about the courageous fight the Jewish people have had in order to keep our religion going, keep our religion alive. And so we have the wonderful story on Chanukah of how Judah the Maccabee managed to stage a revolt against the Greeks who were suppressing Judaism, weren't allowing the people to have their religion, weren't allowing the people to pray or have their special food. And when they got into the temple, they found that this beautiful light that I've just told you about had been extinguished. And in order to light it, they had to try to find a flask of oil that hadn't been touched, that was still kosher, okay for us to eat, okay for us to light our everlasting light with. And that one tiny flame of oil lasted for 8 days until more oil could come. And for that miracle in our homes, we light 8 candles each night of Hanukkah. And I'm thinking also about our festivals, which are really important in our home life. And we have the amazing story of the redemption, the freedom of the children of Israel from Egypt, where they had been slaves for literally hundreds of years. And Moses was sent by God to bring the people out of slavery and take them into the promised land. And there's an amazing story about these people who had been slaves all their lives. They'd never known freedom. They had never known how to take any control of their lives, and were asked to just get up and leave the country with nothing in their pockets, hardly anything to eat but some flour and water. And Moses led them out into the promised land, over the Red Sea to Mount Sinai, where we got the 10 Commandments and the whole law, and into the promised land. So those are some of the stories. I think the other final story I wanted to say, very much of our religion is to do with how we relate to other people. We're told, do not do unto others what you would not have done to yourself. And there's a lot in our stories about being kind to people. And thinking about our festivals, we have the wonderful festival of Shavuot, which falls after the festival of the Passover. And in this story, we have these very poor people, Naomi and Ruth, who literally had nothing to eat. And the wealthy landowner, whose name was Boaz, told his people, when you're gleaning from the field, don't glean the grain from the corners of the fields, so that the people who are strangers and have no money and have no food, they can pick that up for themselves. So it's about looking after the stranger, looking after people who have very little, and making sure they feel at home.